clay exists alone until it is given form. It waits in silence, unshaped, unspoken. It holds the memory of water, the quiet promise of the fire. It's a heavy, stubborn thing until someone teaches it how to remember. This is the memory of a master.
Well, I have been associated with the Department of Fine and Applied Arts of the University of Nigeria for many years, long before I joined the department as a teaching staff. Let us look back to the beginnings. I grew up in this town, Nsukka town. I attended Nsukka High School. I'm sure you know Nsukka High School has produced a number of management staff of this university, including the immediate past Vice Chancellor, Professor Charles Igwe. In fact, even the present Vice Chancellor, I'm sure you know, he's a product of Nsukka High School. So the environment is a familiar environment. The Nsukka environment is a familiar environment. Then as a secondary school student, I lived next door to Professor Okeke at Elias Avenue. He lived in Block 3, Elias Avenue. We lived in Block 4. And I used to visit him. He had a studio in his house, and I used to go there to spend my evenings with him. Then looking further back, I happen to come from an art family. My father was a headmaster, but he was well known in our town for calligraphy and practicing art on his own. And my elder brother, Kalu Oyeoku, you can check it in the departmental library or the main library. My elder brother, Kalu, was the first medical illustrator for University of Nigeria Teaching Hospital. He started from ABU Zaria. Then when the war broke out, the Civil War, he moved down to UNN and graduated in the same department. So, when I joined the university as a student in 1972, you see, so I just fitted in. And Professor Okeke was the head of department. Though shortly after I joined, Professor von Stoker, the professor of ceramics, became the next head of department. So I felt at home when I joined the university as a teaching staff. For me, it was a homecoming. And I turned out to be the first product of the department employed as staff. Yes. See, I joined the university as a lecturer 1 in 1987. See, October 1987. And I remained in the department and grew in the ranks to the position of professor in 1997.
Well, for anybody who finds himself in any situation At any point in time, you should leave your footprints as you leave. My joy is that during these years that I taught in the department, I produced other people to whom I handed over the baton before retiring.
Well, I have known Professor Oyeoku since when I was a kid, when we lived in Alvin Lodin, University of Nigeria, Nsukka. Then he used to live around those P Street. So I knew him as a kid. We eventually moved out of that area. However, when I got admission to study fine art, we met again, and he encouraged me. So he was like a father figure in my early days. That was 2009 when I got gained admission. So up until when I also did my master's, which he also taught me in some courses. So it has been a long relationship.
My relationship with Professor Oyeoku, they are numerous. One, he happened to be my supervisor, my MFO supervisor, before his retirement. And as well, he taught me in my undergraduate days, more especially the courses that are involved with industrial ceramics, like game design and firework. And some other courses that has to do with architectural ceramics.
Yes, I wasn't directly taught by Professor Oyeoku. But then, because by the time I came into the department, he was no longer teaching first year and second years. And then I also did not major in ceramics. If not, I would have had an encounter with him at third year or fourth year level. And I think by then he was even the head of session for the ceramic session. But then looking back, I have, first of all, in first year and second year, we did some courses in clay. That's the introduction to clay works and all that and all that. And the people that taught me are people who were taught by him. And Professor Zelike is a bona fide student of him, who he is really proud of. And beyond this exhibition, I have a personal relationship with Professor Zelike, and also his input has also affected my own art. So whether I see a finger of Oyeoku in the people he taught that have taught me or are mentoring me, such as Professor Zelike, and as someone who does ceramic installation, will I say yes or no to that question? Because my ceramic works are installations, basically. But then I would say, to a great extent, okay, as a first year, second year student, yes, because during those classes, they always vetted our assessment. They always vetted our work with his perspective. So you could hear something like, when Professor Rocco was teaching us, or Professor Rocco will not want this way, or Professor Rocco said we should add, because I remember a case where there was something I think that's it's called a stopper. You're supposed to add to a cup. So he now said, so if you look at Orioco's work, you add stoppers here, that kind of thing. So in classes, once in a while, we hear Oyeoku will do this way, Oyeoku will not do this way, Oyeoku will like this, Oyeoku will not like this. So to that extent, he was an invisible hand in the classes.
What kind of educator was he? He was an educator that brought people together. as you can see, was an educator that tried to get things moving, inspire people. He had a wide knowledge of things, not just ceramics, and then he always encourages people to go beyond.
There are many professors in the department today that passed through me.
Yeah.
Late Professor Ali Egu, you know him, know the name. He was my student. Professor Nsukka was my student. Yeah. Even Professor Wemesi, I taught him. You see, so that's why I always tell people when they say, Prof, these people that you mentored, they are now at the helm of affairs. I always tell them, go ye and do likewise. Yes. So if they can do the same, it will keep the system working. It will keep the system going. You see, there are cases where people have worked in an institution or in a department, in an establishment. At the time they are retiring, they will tell you there's nobody to take over their responsibilities. It means that they have failed. If you are not able to produce people who will take over from you, you have failed.
Yeah.
I had opportunities to run away from the country to go and make money outside. I didn't go. Though I traveled a few times, but abandoning my primary responsibility was at the back of my mind. It was not in the front burner. I kept that aside because I said that's not why I'm here as a teacher. And anyway, I'm a trained teacher. Not that I found myself teaching. Apart from graduating as a professional, as an artist, as a ceramist, I trained as a teacher. And that's one of the responsibilities of a teacher. If you're an academic staff, it is either you work and be promoted or you are not promoted. So everybody has his own secret of the trade. Mm-hmm. Then, if you are like one of my students, Obiora Udechukwu, he's highly creative. I identified him in year one, and I told him, met him in year one. I was teaching them basic design, and I said, "Look, young man, you are good enough for this section, for this work." And I was the youngest lecturer in the department then. And he stuck to me, followed me everywhere I traveled. When we travel, we sleep on the same bed. We pray together in the night and go about our daily activities. And I encourage him in the creative area of ceramics. He's very sound. In fact, he's an all-rounder. Then when he finished his first degree, I insisted he should go into history. His PhD is in history, art history. I insisted. I talked to Professor Nyako and pleaded with him to accept him as his student. Students pass through you. You identify their strong points and advise them accordingly. That's an aspect of being a teacher. Guiding the students. I'm sure you know there is a G&C in education, guidance and counseling. just like I saw Asogwa and I said, "You're good in industrial ceramics," and I sent him to modern ceramics. I saw Keus Ono, that is doing PhD, and I identified him as good in ceramic technology. And I took him to Prada. Ask him, he's a student here now. If you ask him, how did you get into Prada? He will tell you, it was Professor Oyeoku.
A teacher is a fire. They burn themselves down to harden the clay of the next generation. They pour their knowledge into empty vessels, hoping it will hold. Professor Okpan Kalu Oyeoku is a distinguished Nigerian ceramist and art educator. primarily known for his impactful tenure at the Department of Fine and Industrial Arts at the University of Nigeria, Nsukka. He was born in 1949. He earned his Bachelor of Arts in Fine and Applied Arts from UNN in 1976, his PGDE from the University of Jos, and an MA in ceramics from Ahmadu Bello University. Throughout his teaching career, he shaped generations of ceramic artists. Professor Oyeoku's studio work has been featured in numerous solo and group exhibitions, including showcases at the National Museum in Jos and the British Council in Kano. He is a vocal advocate for Nigeria's local ceramic industry. In his 143rd UNN inaugural lecture, he analyzed why local ceramic firms collapsed, while outlining methods to source raw materials and grow the sector sustainably.
During my inaugural lecture, I said something. I traced my interest in ceramics back to when I was very young. By the way, I am from Abia State, from Ohafia to be precise. And Ohafia is about 30 minutes drive from Umuahia, where we have, or we used to have, the first ceramic industry in Nigeria, modern ceramics. And modern ceramics used to market their products in the eastern part of the country on market days. And they used to come to my village on Nkwa market days with their vehicle. They bring their products and come and display, and people will rush to go and buy. So when I came to University of Nigeria, long after that many years after, I discovered that, oh, this thing that they used to sell in my village is taught, I mean, how to produce it is taught in the department. And I started getting close to Professor von Stoker, who was then head of ceramics. So I said to myself, well, my elder brother is a graphic artist and a medical illustrator. My father was a school teacher and an artist. Why not I break away from visual communication and get into this area that seemed to me to be new in this part of the world? I said, look, let me go into this area. So that was my initial reaction, and that was what led me into developing interest in ceramics. So I had people who worked with me. For instance, Senate Ceremonials Committee. It was Chijioke Onora that was working with me at that time, and he was young, willing, and able. So then exam officer. Well, I inherited Emeka Okpara. He was the person appointed, I think he was appointed by Ella Nashi. So when I came in, I continued with him. So I made the management open, because it can be difficult when you work and you don't let your colleagues know what you're doing. I opened up the department, and that was the first time we had the idea of establishing a department of industrial design.
Oh, it has finally come.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You see, in fact, the day I was packing my things, I brought out several documents that we had submitted earlier to the university, and I worked with Dr. Oka. Because he passed through the Department of Industrial Design, Zaria. Me, I passed through the Department of Industrial Design, Zaria, for my master's. And also, both of us happened to be in industrial art, you see. So I believe that was the little beginnings of where we are today. I was instrumental into our getting this place, in case you don't know. If you're not in the good books of management, you deny yourself a lot of things. It's good to disagree, but also disagree to agree and agree to disagree. You know, you must be flexible if you're in a system. You give room for other people to work with you. If you don't do that, you have problems in a system. So I thank God I was head of department at a point in time, but how did it start? Just like I know some of you work with staff, I work with staff too who like me, just like there are staff that like to work with, that will always call you, oh, please come and help me do this, come and help me do that. I'm sure you'll be surprised to hear that Professor Ella Nashi was my supervisor as an undergraduate. So I was close to him. I'm not a sculptor, but I know there is ceramic sculpture. But I was naturally close to him from the time he supervised me as my project supervisor in the department. And as a result of that, we understood ourselves. And that was why when he had opportunity to travel for a whole academic year, I wasn't the most senior, but he nominated me to act on his behalf as he was head of department at that point in time. But he chose me to act as head of department. That was the first time I managed the department. So for one academic year, I was acting for him. Then that was the year 2000. Then at the end of that academic year, I was now appointed by the Vice Chancellor as acting head of department, because I had become a professor then. See, then as head of department, I tried and I made sure I carried everybody along.
A true master knows that a single pillar cannot support a roof. From the intimate corners of the studio as a teacher to the administrative helm as the head of department and later the dean of student affairs, his philosophy remained unchanged. He did not lead by walking ahead and demanding others follow. He led by gathering his people like clay to a wheel, ensuring that no student and no colleague ever had to face the fire alone.
The decision is asked for someone whose surname is Oyeoku, who means the kindler of fire. It's so interesting that the man's name is Oyeoku, and every ceramic piece, for it to become ceramics, has to go through fire. Not just fire, but high temperature fire. You understand? So, and then this man's name is Oyeoku. That is the kindler of fire. So I think it's an interesting discourse. Like, your surname is this. In fact, in Igbo land, most of the surname we have are names attributed to some functions our grandfathers or ancestors performed. In fact, our grandfathers performed at that time. For example, you can see Owagu, meaning that his grandfather or great-grandfather killed Ago. I want the take-home to be a nostalgic feeling. So my goal for this exhibition is to have, one, a nostalgic feeling of, first of all, the man I'm honoring. So we've scouted around to find old works by past students, so that by the time he sees his work, he's like, hey, I thought this person, hey, this person is in the US, hey, this person is late. So I want to see that nostalgic feeling for Professor Oyeoku when he comes into the exhibition.
I come from the part of the country where age grade system is highly valued. Once you are born, you are not in isolation. There are other people who are born at the same time with you. And as you grow up, you know yourselves, you play together, and gradually you begin to relate. Until you get to a stage where, if there is need for wars, your age group will be called upon to defend the people. Then if you grew up to marry, build a house and settle, then that age group will still recognize themselves and they are given a name and they will contribute in community development. You participate in community development activities until you get to the age of 60. When you get to the age of 60, you officially will retire. In my parts, some people call it ibotomma, to drop your knife or the machete. Some call it ibuche. Ibuche means staying back in the village to look after the town, not going out again. Some call it iba ekbe. So after that, that means you are an elder. You have become an elder. But you see, in the civil service, in the university system, if you're a judge, you can retire, you stay on, I think, 70 now, or 75 for you to retire as a judge. If you're a professor in the university system, you retire at 70. And I am 71 now. So I had to retire last year at the age of 70. But that does not mean that you are no longer part of the society. You can now play advisory roles and supervisory roles in certain activities in your village or your town. Likewise, if you want, if you so choose, you can, in the system, become an adjunct professor. No, not an adjunct. You become an emeritus professor, where you still stay around, not as a full-time staff, where you get research grants, you bring to your department. If there is need for you to play any role in the department, you assist. If any of the younger universities or other universities that feel that you're still useful, they may invite you and give you a contract. But it depends on individuals. I didn't want any contract. In fact, about 2 universities that I have worked with in the past have been asking me to come, and I said no.
Well, my wish for him, as he has retired, is that God will continue to make him stronger, because that he has retired doesn't mean that he is tired, because he looks just like other people have said, that he looks very strong. He looks stronger than his age.
My prayer is that he will live longer, so that if there is any difficulty that will arise tomorrow, we'll be able to contact him. Because it pains me. There are things I started with the late Professor Tembu Ale, which I cannot be able to continue because he's no longer alive to be able to give guidelines on what to do next. But now, seeing he's alive and he's healthy and he's even looking at him in mind, you will not even think that he's up to that 70 years and above. So I pray that he will live longer. He has affected lives, and what would be my prayer? He is still strong. Even at the point of retirement, he still looks strong. And there is no greater prayer than good health and long life, and of course, prosperity.
This is what it means to build a lineage. It is the profound, quiet act of giving your voice away so that others might finally speak. The master rests his hands, but the lineage lasts forever.